The council chamber on Zalora was larger than anything humans had ever seen. Towering walls of silver metal stretched high into the sky, glowing softly with lines of light. Hundreds of alien representatives moved about, their shapes and colors strange and unfamiliar. Some had scales, some had wings, some had no heads at all. They whispered to each other in strange tones, their voices echoing in the vast hall. In the center of it all, a large round platform floated above the floor. This was where the human ambassador would stand. Eleanor Price stepped onto the platform. She was calm, though her heart beat a little faster than normal. She looked around at the beings of the council. They were taller, stronger, and older than humans. But Eleanor did not shrink back. She raised her chin and spoke clearly when the chairman of the council, a tall, silver-skinned alien with glowing eyes, addressed her. "Human ambassador," the chairman said, his voice deep and firm. "The council has summoned you to answer for your people. Humanity has grown too bold. You expand your territory. Your fleets threaten neighboring systems, and yet you claim to act with independence. This is unacceptable. The council demands tribute." Eleanor blinked once, then nodded. "I understand," she said. "And what exactly do you request?" The chairman's glowing eyes narrowed. "Resources. Your energy cores, your starship designs, your genetic records. You will provide all that is demanded as proof of your loyalty to the council. Failure to comply will result in consequences." She could feel the weight of the room pressing down on her. The council was not just demanding tribute. They were demanding submission, respect, and obedience. Eleanor stood tall, her hands folded calmly before her. "I will report your demands to Earth's leaders," she said. A council member with long green tendrils sneered. "Do you think we will wait for your primitive human systems to decide? You have 24 standard hours to respond." The aliens laughed in unison, a harsh, grating sound that seemed to fill every corner of the chamber. Some of them leaned closer, studying Eleanor with curiosity, others with contempt. She did not flinch. Instead, she simply bowed slightly and left the platform, her mind already racing with plans. Back on Earth, President Alan Brooks sat in the Oval Office, staring at the message that had arrived from Eleanor. His advisors surrounded him, their faces tense. The holographic image of the council chamber floated above the table, showing the massive alien gathering and the human ambassador standing alone before them. "This is absurd," said General Thomas Kane, one of the oldest military commanders. "They have no right to demand tribute from us. Humanity is independent. We should refuse immediately and prepare for war." Alan shook his head. "We cannot react without thought. The council is powerful. One wrong move and they could destroy our fleets. We need options. We need to think carefully." A younger advisor, Sylvia Grant, spoke next. "Sir, the council has more ships, more weapons, and more experience than we do. If we fight, we risk losing colonies we have spent decades building. Maybe it is wiser to comply, at least partially, to avoid immediate destruction." Admiral Lucas Grant, who had trained fleets and led campaigns across the solar system, slammed his fist lightly on the table. "Comply? Are you serious? We have fought for centuries to be free. Pay tribute and we lose everything. Our pride, our independence, our future. I will not allow it." Alan considered all the words carefully. He was tired, but he was not afraid. "I have made my decision," he said quietly. "We will respond, but not with submission. Humanity will not pay tribute. Prepare the fleets. Prepare our colonies. Inform all sectors that we will defend ourselves if attacked." Back in orbit above Earth, human engineers and scientists had already begun increasing production of ships and weapons. They worked day and night welding, coding, and building. On Mars, the shipyards were crowded with workers. Some were humans who had lived on the planet for years. Others were new recruits fresh from Earth, eager to serve. In one small hangar, Evan Reed tightened a bolt on the hull of a new ship. The ship was sleek, dark, and strong, a sharp contrast to the bulkier cruisers humans had used in the past. Evan wiped sweat from his brow and looked at the ship proudly. "This one's for Earth," he whispered. Around him, others nodded, silently agreeing. On Luna, Dr. Leah Morgan tested a new weapon in her lab. The Sol Lance, she called it. It was designed to bend energy and focus it in a beam, powerful enough to pierce even the strongest shields. Leah adjusted the calibrations, watching the glowing lines of energy ripple across the testing chamber. "If we must fight," she muttered, "we will make it count." Not everyone was in the labs or shipyards. Civilians contributed too. Families on Mars sent food, water and medical supplies to the colonies. Miners on Titan worked long shifts to extract rare materials needed for energy cores. Humanity was united. From the youngest technician to the oldest officer, every person contributed to the silent preparation. Meanwhile, the council waited. They expected fear, submission, maybe even a formal apology, but humanity went quiet. No messages were sent. No ships appeared in the council's observation channels. The silence puzzled the aliens. Some whispered among themselves. Perhaps they are weak, one said. Perhaps they will bow when the fleet arrives. But humans were not weak. They were preparing. Each day more ships were completed, more weapons tested, more pilots trained. On Titan, young cadets learned to control massive battle vessels and simulators, perfecting maneuvers that no alien fleet had ever seen. On Earth, Alan Brooks met regularly with his advisors, discussing strategy, morale, and the future. Eleanor Price stayed in communication with Earth, relaying messages and updates. She walked the council halls during her sessions, noting every movement, every whisper. She was calm, but her mind worked faster than ever before. Every detail mattered. Every alien reaction was recorded. In one quiet moment, she found herself standing at a balcony overlooking the council chamber. Light filtered through the high windows, casting rainbow patterns on the floor. She thought of Earth, of the people she represented, and of the choice humanity had made. "We will not kneel," she said softly to herself. The aliens grew impatient. Some of the smaller council members began sending scouts toward the human colonies, expecting to find weakness. But the scouts returned empty-handed, reporting only normal activity and no signs of fear. The humans were calm, disciplined, and united. Eleanor received another message from Earth. Alan Brooks's words were clear and firm. "Do not concede. We will not pay tribute. Humanity will respond if necessary, but we will not strike first. Trust in our strength." As the hours passed, tension in the council chamber grew. The aliens began to realize that this was unlike any species they had ever encountered. Other worlds had obeyed the council's commands, had offered tribute without question. But humanity was different. They were proud, independent, and unpredictable. Eleanor returned to the platform one last time before leaving Zalora. The chairman watched her, his glowing eyes full of doubt now. "Human ambassador," he said, "consider your choice carefully. Your people are untested. They are young, and the council is patient but firm. The consequences of defiance are severe." Eleanor met his gaze calmly. "I have considered. Humanity will not bow. That is our choice." She stepped down from the platform, her voice quiet but clear, carrying to every corner of the chamber. The council murmured among themselves. This human ambassador was fearless, firm, and unafraid. Some began to feel unease, a small seed of doubt that had never before appeared in the hearts of council members. Back on Earth, the humans did not celebrate. They did not prepare speeches or parades. They worked. Engineers finished ship after ship. Scientists completed tests. Pilots trained in simulators. Civilians provided supplies. Every person, in every corner of human space, understood the stakes. And every person understood that the path forward required unity, courage, and sacrifice. In the quiet of her cabin, Eleanor Price looked at the stars. They were beautiful, endless, and full of unknowns, but she knew that humanity would face those unknowns together. She touched the small flag of Earth on her desk and whispered, "We will not kneel. We will not bow. We will meet the stars as equals." The council waited, unaware that humanity was ready, not ready to beg, not ready to plead, but ready to stand. And in that silence, across millions of kilometers, the first threads of a plan began to weave themselves. A plan that would shock the galaxy and prove that humans could never be underestimated. The challenge had been issued. Humanity's choice had been made, and the galaxy was about to witness the power of a species that refused to be controlled. The silence from humanity worried the council more than any open defiance could have. Days passed, and the communications that had once flowed between human colonies and the council stopped. The council expected fear, negotiation, or submission. Instead, they got nothing. Alien observers reported only routine activity. Trade ships moved as usual. Colonies continued their work, but nothing indicated that humans were preparing to pay tribute. On Mars, the shipyards were busy around the clock. Massive cranes lifted sections of new ships into place while workers moved quickly along the hulls, welding and bolting, adjusting engines, and calibrating navigation systems. The ships were unlike any the Council had seen before, sleek, angular, and fast, designed to strike quickly and survive against fleets many times larger than humanity's. Evan Reed wiped the sweat from his forehead as he checked the alignment of a new cruiser's engines. It was called Resolute. He had spent weeks helping to assemble it, and every detail mattered. "This ship has to be perfect," he said to a fellow worker, Marla, who nodded without words. Every person in the hangar seemed to feel the same quiet urgency. No one spoke of fear. Everyone spoke only of duty. Above the hangar, in orbit around Mars, satellites and drones moved quietly. They scanned nearby space, recording every object, analyzing signals and monitoring for Council scouts. None had dared come close, and the humans were ready if they did. Every satellite and drone was equipped with stealth systems, making them almost invisible even to the most advanced Council sensors. On Luna, the scientists at the Defense Institute worked tirelessly. Dr. Leah Morgan monitored the final tests for the Sol Lance. The weapon was nearly complete. It could bend energy to focus it into a beam, capable of cutting through the strongest shields the Council could deploy. Leah adjusted the controls and ran simulations on alien warships. Each test made her more confident. "We won't need it if they choose to leave us alone," she said quietly to her assistant. "But if they don't, this will make them think twice." Across the solar system, civilians contributed in ways just as important as the engineers or scientists. Families on Mars and Titan sent rations, medical supplies, and spare parts to the shipyards. Miners extracted rare metals and crystals from asteroids to fuel energy cores and build weapons. Every person understood the stakes, even if they were not on the front lines. They were part of a united effort, a human effort to protect humanity itself. Admiral Lucas Grant oversaw the coordination from his command center near Saturn. He had detailed maps of every fleet, every human colony, and every alien fleet the Council had. "They think we are weak," he said to his officers. "They think silence means fear. But we are stronger than they imagine. Every ship, every weapon, every crew member is ready. And we will show them that humans do not submit." One of the younger officers, Lieutenant Mara Hayes, looked concerned. "Sir, the Council has spies everywhere. What if they discover Iron Dawn before we are ready?" Grant smiled slightly. "That is why they will never see it coming. We have trained, prepared, and waited. All they see is routine. They cannot imagine the scale of what we have built." Meanwhile, the Council grew restless. Councilors whispered to each other, debating whether humanity was bluffing or if they truly were ignoring the demands. "Perhaps they have no plan," one said. "Perhaps they will beg before we arrive." But the scouts sent by the Council returned with reports that puzzled the alien leaders. Human colonies were active, yes, but there was no sign of panic, no signs of forced labor, no signs of mass evacuations, and no indication that humans were preparing to pay tribute. Each report made the Council more uncertain. On Titan, the young cadets trained tirelessly in simulators. They learned to pilot massive cruisers through asteroid fields, to execute rapid evasive maneuvers, and to coordinate attacks with other ships. Every cadet understood that their role could be critical. Among them was a boy named Sam Collins. He had grown up near Earth, always fascinated by space. Now he learned to move ships with precision that even the aliens might not expect. He thought often of his family, hoping that his training would keep them safe. On Earth, President Alan Brooks met with his advisors every day. Strategy sessions lasted for hours. They examined possible responses from the Council and discussed humanity's options. Every meeting ended with the same quiet determination. Humans would not submit. They would respond if attacked, but only as a last resort. Still, every decision required careful thought. A mistake could cost countless lives. "Eleanor's reports are clear," Alan said in one meeting. "The Council expects fear, not preparation. They underestimate us, and that is an advantage we cannot waste." Back on Mars, Evan Reed and Marla moved to another section of the shipyard. A massive cargo hold of another ship awaited installation. The hold would contain supplies, weapons, and emergency equipment for a long campaign if needed. They worked side by side with others, silent but focused. Every bolt, every panel, every connection mattered. In orbit around Earth, engineers tested new stealth technologies. Ships that could move without detection, weapons that could strike without warning. Satellites hummed quietly as they mapped nearby sectors, monitoring Council activity. Humanity prepared for war, but no one spoke of starting it first. They prepared to defend, to protect, and to survive. One night on Luna, Leah Morgan watched the stars. The Sol Lance's final test had been successful. She thought of the council, of their arrogance, of their belief that humans would submit. "They do not understand," she whispered. "They cannot imagine how determined we are. They will learn soon enough." Eleanor Price continued her work with the council. She attended meetings, answered questions, and observed every reaction. The council began to grow uneasy with her calm, almost indifferent demeanor. No ambassador from any other species had ever behaved this way. Eleanor never apologized, never bowed, and never wavered. She simply recorded everything and sent reports back to Earth. As days passed, the humans continued their work. Shipyards were completed, weapons systems were tested, and pilots mastered maneuvers. The fleet grew, hidden from the council's sensors by stealth and deception. Every detail mattered. Every person contributed. Every colony played a role. The council debated. "They are silent. Perhaps they are hiding a fleet," one member said nervously. "Or perhaps they are foolish. Either way, we must act soon." Eleanor knew the time would come soon. The council would not wait forever. When the humans responded, it would be decisive. Not a surrender, not a plea, but a message of defiance. She thought of Alan Brooks, of Admiral Grant, of all the engineers, scientists, pilots, and civilians working together. Humanity was united, ready, and patient. On Mars, Evan and Marla finished their shift and stepped outside. The sun was bright, reflecting off the red dust. They looked at the ships lined up in the yards, massive and powerful, ready for whatever came. "We're ready," Evan said quietly. Marla nodded. "It's more than that," she said. "We're human. They won't break us." Back on Earth, Alan Brooks addressed the nation. "The council has demanded tribute," he said in a broadcast. "They expect fear. They expect submission. Humanity will respond, not with surrender, not with weakness, but with unity and determination. We will stand together." The council watched and waited. Alien fleets were mobilized, but the humans remained silent. There was no panic, no hasty construction, no signs of desperation. Just quiet preparation, work, and determination. The council did not understand it. They could not understand it. Eleanor Price returned to her cabin one evening and looked at the stars. She thought of Earth, of the people working tirelessly across the solar system. She thought of the council, arrogant and demanding. Humanity had made its choice. They would not pay tribute. They would not bow. And soon the council would see the result. From Titan to Luna, from Mars to Earth, humans moved with purpose. Ships slid silently into position. Weapons were readied and cadets trained for battle. Each person understood their role. Every action, no matter how small, was part of a greater plan. In the quiet of the human colonies, a single thought echoed across millions of kilometers. The council demanded tribute. Humanity would not pay. Humanity would not kneel. And when the time came, the galaxy would witness the strength, unity, and courage of a species that refused to be controlled. The council waited, unaware of the fleet, unaware of the weapons, unaware of the determination of humanity, and in that silence humans prepared. The council did not wait forever. Days of silence from humanity had tested their patience. Alien fleets moved toward the outer edges of Saturn's orbit, massive warships that could crush human colonies in hours. Council observers sent messages warning humanity, comply or face destruction. Eleanor Price received the message aboard her observation station near Zalora. She read it carefully, then calmly transmitted her reply. "Humanity acknowledges your message," she said. The words were measured, neutral, almost polite. "We will not comply. We will not bow. Prepare to witness our response." The council's leaders were shocked. They had expected hesitation, fear, negotiation. This was far from it. The alien fleets advanced, and the first human scouts appeared. But they were not attacking. They were simply moving into position, hidden by stealth systems, their numbers far greater than the council had anticipated. Admiral Lucas Grant stood on the bridge of the Valor, the human command ship. Around him, officers monitored the council fleets and coordinated movements of the human forces. The fleets were positioned strategically, forming layers of defense and attack zones. Valor led the main group, with other cruisers such as Resolute, Endurance, and Horizon, following in precise formation. Grant looked at the holographic display of the council fleet. "They think they have superiority in numbers," he said. But we have strategy, coordination, and the will to protect our people. That is more powerful than any single weapon. On Mars, Evan Reed and his team finished preparations on the Resolute. Weapons were loaded, engines calibrated, and shields tested. Evan ran his hand along the hull, feeling the cold metal and thinking of the people he would protect. "We are ready," he said quietly. "It's time they learned who humans are." In the council chambers, High Executor Theros, the leader of the attacking fleet, growled in frustration. Why do they not beg? Why do they not surrender? Their fleet is far smaller than ours. They cannot fight us. And yet, they wait. Silent. Calm. They will regret this arrogance. Eleanor Price stood among the council members, her expression unreadable. She knew the humans were ready. The council had underestimated them, and soon the consequences would be clear. The first message from humanity arrived on all council channels. "You demanded tribute," it said. "You will have it." There was confusion. Many council members thought it was a trick, a bluff. Some believed humanity had agreed to comply, but then thousands of human warships decloaked across the solar system, appearing in precise formations that the council could not ignore. Ships slid silently from behind moons and asteroids, larger vessels emerging from the shadows of Saturn's rings. The council fleet froze in disbelief. Their monitors could not track every ship. Hundreds of ships appeared where none had been seen before. Each cruiser was ready for battle, every weapon armed. The sheer number stunned the alien leaders. Admiral Grant activated the communications channel. His voice was calm, steady, and carried across the void. "You demanded tribute. You shall have it." At first, the council assumed it meant submission. Then human cargo pods began to launch from the fleet. The pods moved quickly toward the council flagship. When the alien commanders opened the first pod, they saw the shattered remains of their own surveillance drones. They looked closer and saw a plaque engraved with words in the human language. "Humanity pays tribute to no one." Silence fell over the council fleet. Some laughed nervously, thinking it a joke. Others were angry, their pride wounded. Theros's eyes glowed brighter as he bellowed orders. "Attack! Destroy them all!" The first plasma beams of the battle streaked across space. Alien weapons were powerful, striking human ships with precision. Explosions lit the darkness, tearing through smaller cruisers. Yet the humans did not panic. Every ship moved as if part of a single mind, coordinated perfectly. Pilots executed maneuvers that the aliens could not predict. On the Resolute, Evan Reed gripped the controls tightly. He watched the enemy fire strike the hull, but the shields held. "We can do this," he shouted. Marla, at the weapons console, fired back at the nearest destroyer. Missiles struck the alien ship, damaging its engines. Chaos began to ripple through the council fleet. The Sol Lance, hidden on Titan, activated for the first time. A beam of focused energy cut through space, striking the council flagship directly. The energy bent and twisted, slicing through shields and armor. Explosions rocked the vessel, sending fragments of metal into orbit. Theros's command center was destroyed, and the alien fleet lost coordination instantly. Other human ships took advantage of the chaos. The Endurance and Horizon moved in perfect tandem, targeting command vessels and crippling engines. The council fleet, once confident in its superiority, now struggled to maintain order. Admiral Grant watched the monitors. "Focus on leadership targets," he ordered. "Break their chains of command. Let them see that humans do not fear." Eleanor Price transmitted updates to Earth, her calm voice masking the tension. "The fleet is performing beyond expectations. The council is in disarray. Humanity maintains control." In the midst of battle, Evan Reed's ship rammed an alien destroyer to protect a smaller human vessel. The impact damaged Resolute, but it successfully shielded the other ship. Evan and his team survived, battered but determined. "We cannot falter," he said, helping Marla repair systems. "We protect our people. That is our duty." The alien fleet began to retreat. They were unprepared for human tactics, coordination, and sheer willpower. Ships that had once inspired fear now fled from vessels half their size. Theros's defeat sent a shock through the council, undermining the authority they had held for centuries. Admiral Grant did not pursue unnecessarily. He allowed the surviving aliens to leave, sending a final message across the void. "We will not be ruled. We will not bow. The stars belong to all who dare to reach them." The message spread quickly across the galaxy. It was recorded by other species, transmitted through networks the council could not control. Humanity's defiance became a symbol, a warning to anyone who might think to underestimate them. On Mars, engineers and scientists watched the monitors in silence. They saw the fleet returning victorious, though not without losses. Each ship that returned carried the story of its crew's courage. Families celebrated quietly, mourning those who had fallen but proud of the bravery displayed. Eleanor Price returned to the council chamber, greeted with stunned silence. The alien leaders no longer looked down on her. Some were angry, some fearful, and some unsure of what to do next. She walked among them, calm and composed. "You demanded tribute," she said. "We offered a gift, but not the one you expected. Humanity does not bow." Across human colonies, celebrations were small but meaningful. Families hugged, pilots shared stories, and engineers smiled at the ships they had built. Humanity had stood together, united, and proven to the galaxy that they could not be controlled. On Titan, Leah Morgan deactivated the Sol Lance, satisfied with its performance. "It worked," she said quietly. "We showed them strength without losing our honor." In the council chambers, debate raged. Some council members wanted to punish humanity further, to launch another fleet. Others argued that the council had underestimated humans and that respect, not force, was the path forward. The balance of power was shifting, and for the first time in centuries, the council could not predict the next move. Eleanor Price prepared her report for Earth. She described the battle, the fleet's performance, and the council's reaction. She knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would remember what had happened in Saturn's orbit. Humanity had taken its first stand, and they had done so without surrender, without fear, and without compromise. Back on Earth, President Alan Brooks addressed the world. "The council demanded tribute," he said. "They expected submission. Humanity has shown them another way. We have defended our independence. We have shown our courage. And we have sent a message to the stars: humans will never bow." Evan Reed looked at the sky from the Martian surface. The battle was over, but the war for respect in the galaxy had only begun. He thought of the people he had protected, the ships he had helped build, and the courage he had witnessed. Humanity had stood together and they had won. Admiral Grant walked the deck of the Valor, looking at the fleet. "This is what humans can do," he said quietly to his officers. "Not because of our weapons, not because of our numbers, but because of our spirit. That is the power no one can take from us." Eleanor Price transmitted her final message to the council. "The council demanded tribute," she said calmly. Humanity answered, and the answer was defiance. Let it be remembered. The council, shaken and uncertain, began to retreat to their homeworlds. Alien fleets would rebuild, yes, but the image of humanity standing firm would remain in their memory. They had underestimated a species that refused to be controlled. They had underestimated humanity's courage, unity, and resolve. As the stars stretched endlessly before them, humans returned to their colonies. Ships were repaired, supplies replenished, and people celebrated quietly. They had faced the galaxy's might and stood unbroken. Humanity had made its first great mark in the stars, and the galaxy would never forget it. Eleanor Price looked at the stars from her observation station. Humanity had sent its message. The council fleet had retreated, but the battle was far from over. The humans had won the first engagement, but many knew that alien reinforcements would arrive. Admiral Lucas Grant studied the reports from Saturn's orbit with a calm, steady expression. He did not show fear. He did not show doubt. Humanity had prepared for this moment, and he trusted in the skill, courage, and unity of his people. On Mars, Evan Reed and his team were repairing the Resolute. The ship had survived several direct hits but still bore scars from the battle. Sparks flew as panels were replaced and systems recalibrated. Evan wiped his brow and looked at Marla, who was checking the weapons console. "We did well today," he said. "But it isn't over." Marla nodded. "They'll be back," she said quietly. "But we'll be ready." In the command center aboard the Valor, Admiral Grant coordinated movements across the human fleet. Satellites tracked potential council reinforcements approaching from distant systems. Every human vessel was positioned strategically to protect colonies and maintain a strong offensive posture. "We fight smart," Grant said to his officers. "We fight together. That is why we win." Meanwhile, Dr. Leah Morgan monitored the Sol Lance from Titan. The weapon was still active, though now it was in standby mode. Its beam had destroyed the Council flagship and caused confusion among the remaining alien vessels. Leah watched the readings carefully. They underestimate what humans can do, she said softly. And that will be their mistake again. Across human colonies, the quiet work of preparation continued. Engineers, pilots, and scientists repaired damaged ships, tested weapons, and trained cadets. Even civilians contributed. On Titan, miners extracted rare materials to repair energy cores. On Luna, medical teams treated injured pilots and prepared supplies for future engagements. The effort was massive, but humanity had become accustomed to working as one. Eleanor Price returned to the council chamber via secure communication. She stood before the alien leaders, her presence calm and unshaken. The council members were still recovering from the first engagement, their confidence shaken by the unexpected power of the humans. Many whispered to each other, unsure what to do next. "You have seen our first response," Eleanor said quietly. "Humanity will not bow. We will defend ourselves and we will protect our people. If you attack again, we will respond. We will not strike first, but we will not hesitate to defend." Some council members were angry. Others were nervous. The balance of power had shifted and they felt it. They could not understand how such a young species could challenge them so decisively. On the battlefield in orbit, the human fleet prepared for the council's next move. Smaller ships scouted nearby systems, while larger cruisers reinforced the defensive lines. Pilots practiced maneuvers over and over, anticipating potential attacks. Each person knew that the next engagement could be decisive. Evan Reed checked the ship's systems one last time before taking his post. He felt the weight of responsibility, but he also felt pride. Humanity had stood together once and they could do it again. "We protect what is ours," he said quietly. "And we do it together." In distant space, a new fleet of council ships appeared on sensors. These vessels were larger, more advanced, and more heavily armed than those destroyed in the first engagement. Their appearance caused unease among council observers, who had not witnessed the first battle firsthand. They expected humans to panic, to retreat, to plead for mercy, but that was not the way of humanity. Admiral Grant activated the communications channel. "You may return," he said calmly. "But remember this, humans do not submit. If you attack, you will face the consequences." The council fleet advanced cautiously. They had learned from the first encounter. They moved in tight formations, covering each other, coordinating attacks. But humans were ready. The Sol Lance remained on standby, ready to strike again if necessary. Smaller cruisers moved to flank positions, ready to intercept council vessels. Every ship, every crew member, and every weapon was prepared. On Mars, Evan Reed and his team received reports of incoming attacks. "They're coming," he said. Marla nodded, adjusting the weapon systems. "Then we'll meet them," she said firmly. As the alien fleet approached, the humans waited. There was no panic, no shouting, no fear, just preparation and focus. Pilots adjusted flight paths, engineers checked weapons, and officers coordinated movements. Every action was precise, rehearsed, and disciplined. When the council fired the first volley of plasma beams, the humans were ready. Shields held against the initial strikes. Countermeasures diverted missiles. Human ships moved in perfect coordination, anticipating the enemy's next move. The council was surprised again. Their superior numbers had little effect against the organization, discipline, and skill of the human fleet. The Sol Lance activated once more. This time its beam cut through multiple council ships, disabling engines and weapons. The alien fleet began to falter. Some ships were destroyed, others retreated. Confusion spread through the ranks. Humanity had turned the tide again, not with reckless attacks, but with precision, strategy, and unity. Admiral Grant directed the fleet with calm authority. "Focus on command ships," he said. "Break their chains of leadership. Show them that humans fight as one, not as individuals." In the chaos, Evan Reed piloted the Resolute with skill and courage. He fired missiles, evaded attacks, and protected smaller vessels. Marla assisted, coordinating weapons fire and tracking enemy positions. Together, they became part of the larger human effort, each action contributing to the fleet's overall success. The council fleet, once confident in its strength, now struggled to maintain order. Communication between ships broke down and panic spread among crews. Some ships attempted to flee only to be intercepted by human cruisers. Humanity's discipline and coordination had turned the battle into a decisive advantage. Eleanor Price observed the council's reactions via secure channels. She sent reports to Earth, her tone calm but firm. "The fleet is performing beyond expectations. The Council is disorganized. Humanity maintains control. They have underestimated our determination." Across human colonies, celebrations were quiet but meaningful. Civilians cheered, engineers smiled at their repaired ships, and pilots shared stories of bravery. Humanity had faced the galaxy's might and stood unbroken. Admiral Grant allowed the remaining Council fleet to retreat. He did not pursue unnecessarily. The message had been sent. Humans would defend themselves, but they would not strike first. Humanity had shown strength, unity, and courage, a lesson the galaxy would not forget. On Titan, Leah Morgan deactivated the Sol Lance and recorded the results. The weapon had performed beyond expectations, disabling multiple enemy ships and protecting human forces. She smiled quietly. "They will not underestimate us again," she said. Evan Reed returned to Mars, exhausted but proud. He looked at the repaired Resolute and thought of all the people who had contributed to humanity's defense. Engineers, scientists, pilots, and civilians, everyone had played a role. Humanity had stood together, and they had won. Eleanor Price prepared her final report for Earth. She described the battle, the fleet's performance, and the Council's reaction. She knew the galaxy had witnessed the power of a united species. Humanity had proven that they could not be controlled, that they could fight with intelligence, courage, and honor. On Earth, President Alan Brooks addressed the people. "The Council has seen our strength," he said. "They have underestimated us. Humanity has defended its independence. We have sent a message to the galaxy. We will not bow. We will not submit. And we will protect our people with all our strength." Evan Reed stood outside on Mars looking at the stars. The battle had been won, but humanity's journey was just beginning. They had faced the Council's might and emerged victorious. They had proven that humans could stand together, united in purpose and determination. Admiral Grant walked the deck of the Valor, looking at the fleet. "This is humanity," he said quietly to his officers. "Not because of weapons, not because of numbers, but because of spirit, courage, and unity. That is a power no one can take from us." Eleanor Price sent her final message to the Council. "You have seen humanity's response," she said. "We will not bow. We will not kneel. We will defend ourselves and our people. Remember this." The Council retreated, shaken and uncertain. Alien fleets would rebuild, but the lesson of humanity's unity, courage, and determination would remain. They had underestimated a young species, and now they understood that humans could not be controlled, manipulated, or intimidated. Across the colonies, humans repaired their ships, cared for their wounded, and celebrated quietly. They had faced the might of the Council and had stood unbroken. They had proven that humanity's strength lay not only in weapons or numbers, but in their unity, courage, and resolve. Eleanor Price looked at the stars from her observation station. Humanity had sent its message. The Council had seen the power of a united species, and for the first time she felt hope for the future. A future where humans could explore, grow, and stand as equals among the stars. The challenge had been met. Humanity had faced the Council's fleet twice and emerged victorious. They had shown strength, skill, and courage, and the galaxy would remember the name of humanity forever. The Council had retreated to their home systems, but the echoes of their defeat followed them across the galaxy. Reports of the human fleet's precision, courage, and unity spread quickly among alien species. No longer was humanity seen as a young, weak species to be ignored or controlled. They were now a force to be respected. On Earth, President Alan Brooks watched news feeds from colonies across the solar system. Every report told the same story. Human fleets had defended themselves, human pilots had acted with bravery, and human engineers had built ships and weapons beyond expectation. He felt pride and relief. Humanity had faced a threat far greater than any in recorded history, and had emerged unbroken. In the Martian hangars, Evan Reed and Marla stood among their crew, repairing ships and reviewing reports from the battles. "We did it," Marla said softly. "We actually did it." Evan shook his head. "Yes, but it's not over," he replied. "The Council will return. Others in the galaxy may challenge us too. We have to be ready." Even as the humans celebrated small victories, work continued. Ships were repaired and upgraded, weapons improved, and pilots trained for the next potential engagement. Civilians helped where they could, sending food, medicine, and resources to support the fleets. Humanity had proven its strength, but they also knew they could not rely on luck or surprise forever. Admiral Lucas Grant held a meeting aboard the Valor, the flagship of the human fleet. Officers from every major ship gathered around, reviewing maps and communications. "The Council has retreated for now," Grant said, "but they will test us again. We must use this time wisely, train harder, prepare smarter, and continue to unite every colony, every ship, and every person. That is how we ensure humanity's survival and freedom." Across the solar system, Eleanor Price continued her role as ambassador. She observed the Council's home systems, noting their rebuilding efforts and internal debates. Alien leaders could not ignore what had happened. Humanity had changed the balance of power. Eleanor knew that the galaxy would never again treat humans as weak or submissive. The Council had learned a lesson. Humans were unpredictable, united, and determined. Messages from Council factions debated the proper response. Some suggested launching another attack to regain control. Others advised diplomacy, recognizing that trying to crush humanity could lead to further humiliation. The debate was heated, and no clear path emerged. Back on Mars, Evan and his team completed repairs on the Resolute. The ship gleamed under the hangar lights, a symbol of human perseverance and ingenuity. "We're ready for whatever comes next," Evan said. Marla nodded, looking at the crew. "And we'll stand together no matter what." In orbit around Titan, Dr. Leah Morgan adjusted the Sol Lance and ran new simulations. The weapon had proven effective in battle, but she knew it could be improved. Every adjustment she made increased its power and precision. "If the Council returns, we will be ready," she said. "We will not be caught off guard again." On Luna, young cadets trained daily, learning maneuvers and strategies that even experienced pilots could find challenging. Sam Collins, one of the cadets, executed a perfect docking sequence in a simulator. He smiled, proud of his skill, but aware that the real challenge would be in space. Every cadet understood that they were part of a larger effort, a united humanity standing against forces that once seemed unbeatable. Meanwhile, Eleanor Price prepared a final report for President Brooks. She summarized the victories, the lessons learned, and the Council's reaction. "Humanity has proven itself," she wrote. "The Council's perception of our species has changed. The galaxy now knows that humans are united, courageous, and capable of defending their freedom. We must remain vigilant, but we have earned respect." President Brooks read her report and nodded. "Humanity has done more than survive," he said to his advisors. "We have made the galaxy take notice. Our people have shown courage, unity, and intelligence. That is our greatest strength. We must build on it." On Mars, Evan Reed looked up at the sky. The stars stretched endlessly before him, bright and full of unknowns. Humanity had faced a threat from one of the most powerful councils in the galaxy, and had not only survived but proven their strength. The thought gave him pride, but also a sense of responsibility. "We've shown them what humans can do," he said softly. "Now we have to protect that. For everyone." Admiral Grant walked the deck of the Valor, observing the fleet. Each ship was repaired, crews rested, and preparations continued. "This is humanity," he said to his officers. "Not because of weapons, not because of numbers, but because of unity, courage, and determination. That is a power no one can take from us." Eleanor Price sent a final message to the Council. Her voice was calm, her words precise. "The Council has seen humanity's strength," she said. "We have defended ourselves, and we have sent a clear message. Humans will not bow. We will not kneel. We will protect our people. Remember this." The Council, shaken and uncertain, retreated further into their home systems. Alien fleets would rebuild, but the lesson of humanity's courage and determination would remain. Other species across the galaxy, who had once doubted humanity, now watched with curiosity and respect. Humans had proven that they could stand together, face impossible odds, and prevail. Across the colonies, people returned to their lives, repairing ships, caring for the wounded, and continuing their work. But everywhere there was a sense of pride, unity, and hope. Humanity had faced the galaxy's might and had stood unbroken. They had proven that their strength lay not only in weapons or numbers, but in courage, unity, and resolve. On Titan, Leah Morgan prepared the Sol Lance for continued testing. "We will be ready," she said. "No one will take our people by surprise again." Evan Reed walked through the Martian colony, watching engineers, pilots, and civilians work together. He smiled quietly, thinking of all that had been accomplished. Humanity had faced a council that demanded tribute, and had responded not with submission but with strength, courage, and unity. In orbit around Earth, President Brooks spoke to humanity. "You have shown the galaxy what it means to be human," he said. "We have faced threats, we have defended ourselves, and we have stood together. Today, humanity has earned its place among the stars. Let this be the beginning of a future where our people explore, grow, and stand as equals in the galaxy." Eleanor Price looked at the stars one last time from her observation station. The council had retreated, alien fleets had been defeated or scattered, and humanity had sent a message that would be remembered for generations. The young ambassador felt pride for her people and hope for the future. Humanity had stood together, had faced the impossible, and had won. Back on Mars, Evan Reed and Marla watched the sunset over the Red Plains. The battle was over, but their work would continue. Humanity had proven its strength, but the galaxy was vast and full of unknowns. They would remain vigilant, united, and prepared for whatever came next. Admiral Grant addressed the fleet one final time. "This is the way of humanity," he said. "We do not bow. We do not submit. We face challenges together with courage and unity. That is our greatest weapon, and that is what makes us unstoppable." Eleanor Price transmitted a final message to Earth. "The galaxy has seen humanity's courage," she said. "The Council has learned a lesson they will not forget. We have protected our people, defended our freedom, and shown the power of unity. Let this moment guide us as we continue to explore the stars." In homes, hangars, and colonies across human space, people celebrated quietly but meaningfully. They had faced a council that demanded tribute, and they had responded with defiance and courage. Humanity had proven that no force could bend them, that no challenge was too great when people stood together. Evan Reed looked at the stars once more, feeling a deep sense of pride. "We've shown them who we are," he said softly. Marla smiled beside him. "Yes," she said, "and we'll keep showing them." Across the galaxy, whispers spread among other civilizations. Humans were no longer a species to be underestimated. They were united, brave, and resilient. They were a species that could stand alone, fight together, and prevail against forces far larger and stronger. Eleanor Price smiled as she closed her reports. Humanity had sent its message. The Council had seen their strength, and the galaxy would never underestimate humans again. The stars stretched endlessly before them, full of possibilities and challenges. Humanity had survived its first great test, had proven its unity, and had earned its place among the stars. And for the first time, the future felt bright, full of hope, adventure, and endless potential. Humanity had stood together. Humanity had prevailed, and humanity's story among the stars had only just begun.